Yes.
Thank you. Are we able to do a body scan for Andre, please, and heal anything and balance anything that he is needing today?
Yes. The healing and removal of some aspects of his trauma were beginning to happen before you even asked, and he felt jolts and picks and motions in his body, and he feels in his legs now the vibrations, and this is just us uh, doing a psychic surgery on him, spiritual surgery. So yes, he's he's good. He has released so much, and we're just fine tuning.
Thank you so much. What was the trauma he had experienced?
There's a lot of trauma on his right side, which is symbolic of the masculine side. Uh, so, from all aspects, the masculine in him, the masculine that he sees and deals with in others, and the masculine energy of the world that it has been in for so many years. This is part of the reason why he is so connected to his feminine lives, his female lives, as he was female so much in his past. And in this life, he chose to be male, but still be connected to his female woman side, so that he could navigate being male with a female dominant energy in this life. And this is part of his journey and his purpose. And that is why he notices most of the activity with regards to energy sensations taking place on his right side, because that is where the issues are taking place and need to be healed and fixed.
Thank you. And so, how will he feel after this session?
He'll feel good after the session, like he does after every session. But once you release something, more stuff comes up to heal. So it should be no surprise to him when things start to creep up again after a while. It's not the kind of thing that we can um, achieve or accomplish in one setting, because if we were to remove all of his traumas and healings, or traumas and issues, the healing would remove the chance and opportunity for him to learn and grow and accomplish what's left to be accomplished in for the rest of his time. And so he must face these on his own, and then we are here to take them away from him when the time is right.
Thank you. When he's ready to fully release it?
Yes, he has to experience the lessons. Otherwise, we could just fix him on the spot in one session and all would be hunky dory and that would be it. But would he learn anything? No.
Exactly. Thank you. And in terms of all the lessons that he wants to experience and is going to experience, how is he going on his path and on his journey?
He's doing well from the mental side of things, but he is lacking in his spiritual side. He is afraid to face his spiritual side, and he doesn't meditate and he doesn't take care of his body like he had started to. He's feeling like he's in a dead end, a little bit of a sort of spiritual purgatory right now, and doesn't quite know which direction to go, and that's fine. So he has done an incredible job throughout his whole life of learning lessons, and many of the lessons that he has chosen to experience have would be very difficult for anyone. And uh, unfortunately, when creating these experiences, you also take on more traumas and things that need to be worked out when the lessons are over. So it's almost like a vicious cycle. But we are at the end of the cycle now. So He's just releasing and going through the motions of releasing the residue that is built up over his lifetime in this life. So all of the stuff in inverted commas is gone from his previous lives. Now he's facing up to his what has happened in this life and releasing that. So it's very, if you can imagine a the outline of a person with fluid inside the outline, and the fluid drains and drains and drains as things are worked out and released. But within his life, then the fluid starts to build up again, and build up again, and then release and release and release, and then build up and build up again, slowly creating a steady release of all the liquid. And right now we're at the very bottom of the body of the outline, and we're just releasing that liquid, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, it does. I really appreciate that. And I know he will appreciate that confirmation too. So thank you very much for that. In terms of manifestating, what do you want to tell us about that right now?
With regards to his general manifestation abilities?
Well, yeah, we are curious about his manifestating powers, but just as also in general, I feel like I'm also very curious about how people are able to, the power of manifestating right now.
The power of manifestation is a constant in everybody's lives, whether they realize it or not, whether they're asleep or whether they're awake. With each thought, with each word, with each feeling, with each movement, you are manifesting and creating your existence. And with this, this is difficult to explain. While your journey is written, and while your journey is written, and you are taken to places that you need to go in order to learn the lessons that you have contracted with your soul family and your higher self and your collective. There is in reality the power to manifest added extras, we'll call them, such as material things, emotions, feelings, outcomes, and experiences, as long as they tie in with the contract that you have laid out for your soul's journey. So for instance, if you can focus on one particular feeling and thought, if the thought and the feeling of that thought combine together in a symbiotic way, then the outcome or the manifestation of that thought will appear in life if it is in line with your soul's contract. So you'll find this is why so many can manifest the negative and the things that they don't so much want in their lives, like negative emotions, batches of depression, illnesses, and undesirable outcomes, because it is so much easier for the human mind to focus on the negative, to focus on the worst case scenario. And the more and more the mind focuses on the worst case scenario, the more those outcomes are manifested into the reality of that person. If you can focus on thoughts that are uplifting and in inverted commas positive, and really feel the feeling of what that emotion is, you will find the manifestation of these thoughts coming to fruition, just as the manifestation of negative thoughts come to fruition. Now, this is a very, very extremely basic and limited explanation of what manifestation is, because there are many laws and many rules that accompany this law that are not being made aware to the humans, but their higher selves are aware, which is why some things do not come to fruition and do not manifest into their reality, because it is either not in line with the soul's contract, it is not in line with certain laws of the universe, and the higher self often can foresee the outcome of what the thought and desire is, and decides as to whether that is something that is going to be beneficial for the journey of the soul in this lifetime. So, for instance, for somebody, winning the lottery could be the best thing that ever happened to them, and it could teach them lots of beneficial things, like how to handle money, how to do good, how to use that money for the gain of others as well as that person. Also winning the lottery can send someone into a tailspin of depression and debt. Even though they have all that money, they can spend it just as quickly. And it is often the, in inverted commas, negative aspect of winning the lottery. So both of those timelines could potentially be in alignment with each person's contract. But the higher self, if it is not in line with each person's contract, will not combine with the laws. Will not combine with the laws of the universe to make that manifestation a reality. If that makes sense, I hope you understand.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, and there is a lot of people that are sort of saying that there's a portal of energy right now due to the 11th of the 11th that is more powerful, in their opinion, to be able to do this manifestation. But as you said, we can have hopes and dreams that what we want and what we think we need in our lives. But the reality is, does it go against our life contracts, and is it really beneficial for us in the bigger picture?
So what you must all understand is this is just manifestation at its finest example. And I'm glad you brought this up, because if you believe something truly with your heart's desire, with all of your heart, you can manifest it. If you believe with all your heart and you can feel into the emotions of the feeling of believing that the 1111 portal is a thing and is reality and does increase your powers of manifestation, well, this will be the case. But for somebody who believes that this is not the case, that reality will be true in their lives. It really is as simple as that. A lot of the in inverted commas, portals, full moons, planetary alignments, etc., are do have some merit, but are generally a belief used in ancient and medieval and older ways of spirituality, which was more pagan, and that was true for them, and the teachings have trickled down through the generations and is now true for many in this lifetime and in this dimension. However, there are people who are not spiritually awake, have no idea of any of this, and are the best manifestors in the world, because they are more carefree and they are able to feel into the emotions and really believe. So there are many, many people that have manifested wonderful and abundant lifestyles that are in alignment with their soul's contract, without even any realization that they have manifested this themselves with the power of their mind and body and spirit and emotions.
Lovely, thank you. And so, is there anything that you want to tell us about the situation right now? What is the energy for no, for humanity going? Are we awakening up more? I mean, what can you share with us today?
humanity is waking up. Um, there is the uh, we believe that people have gone off track with their perception of what is happening, and this is due to the events not unfolding as have been previously discussed. And we are forgetting that the um, reason these things have not happened is because they have not needed to happen. And it is confusing for you and the listeners who are expecting all of these things and thinking it's not happening, it's not happening. People aren't waking up. What's going on? People aren't ready for the broadcast. People aren't ready for something because they're not waking up. They're not waking up. And this is incorrect. They are waking up. And this is for the exact reason that we have not needed to implement some of the things that we have previously discussed in sessions. And for you on Earth, it is very difficult and seems very unfair and almost like we are torturing you, but you must understand from our perspective and your higher self's perspective, we don't really care. And that sounds harsh, but we do care. It's just we don't have the emotions like you have the emotions. So we don't see it like that. It's quite neutral from where we are. We do what needs to be done, and if something doesn't take effect or take place, then we do something else or we move something around. Or, but it is as well. What you have all forgotten is that your lives have been written and are written, and while certain events in your life are not set in stone, there is a direct blueprint for all of you set in stone, and it has already happened. Um, and it is already happening and will happen and has happened and is happening at the same time. And this is something that the human mind doesn't comprehend. So we can see, have already seen the outcome, we've already lived the outcome. We are going through the motions of this in your reality as your perception is leading you forward in this life. So we already know the outcome. So we say again that it is important to just trust that all is well and on track and going to plan. Um, and you should be rejoicing. Obviously, you have free will, but we would, from our perspective, suggest that you start rejoicing. And then all is going well. You have seen new data um, and imagery from the election that is waking people up and bringing people to the awareness of the corruption behind the scenes in government. And while you are correct in saying that the 3D government should not be the focus of your lives and that it is a 3D construct, it is important to the mission of waking people up to that realization on their own. So while we say to you, do not focus on the election, do not focus on the 3D aspects of what is happening, we understand that these events are important um, in the arrival of people coming to that realization on their own so they can awaken. So it is, again, trying to find a balance between seeing and understanding the events that are taking place, but holding not too much reliance on certain outcomes in certain situations. And we will tell you that wonderful things are happening behind the scenes with regards to the election. And you will see a big change over the next few weeks with what is taking place and what is coming to light. And this will be a joyous thing for all those looking for these answers and looking for an outcome, and it's about being patient. And we should also say that the highest outcome will befall what is meant for humankind at this time. And it is not always obvious as to why that is the highest outcome, but we assure you that it is always highest outcome, the highest outcome. This may be for learning lessons. This may be for the collapse of certain systems, the collapse of certain people, the movement of power and changing of ways in your 3D reality. Because while people have moved up through the dimensions, which we should also advise is a human construct as well, and we are going with it. But there are so many more in between stages of these dimensions that you do not understand and will never understand, because it is not part of your mind, the comprehension of your mind. And this is not to patronize you. This is just the reality of what things are. It is not going to be possible for humans to ever understand exactly what is going on and what everything is, because it is not your destiny. It's not part of your contracts. So you are working in a very limited space of awareness with regards to the 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D. Now, we like the analogy and we like the definitions of those points throughout the dimensions, because it is a great stepping stone for the human mind to be able to comprehend. But it is very important to be aware of that there are things in between those dimensions and realities that you are not comprehending, and that no one is comprehending or will ever comprehend on this planet, as it is not part of your contract.
Thank you. And we also don't really need to know that, right? That's just going to just distract us from the purpose of our lives here.
Yeah, you will not be able to understand it. That's the point. You can be as spiritual as you want on this planet, but there are certain laws that you as a human and your higher self must abide by when taking on the form of a human in this reality. So it's nothing. It's again not to patronize any of you. It's just how it is. And you're just not meant to understand certain things. Even we do not understand certain things. The higher self does not understand certain things. There are levels and things that we must learn and experience without the added, with inverted commas, benefit of the extra knowledge, because with the extra knowledge, you would not learn the lessons that you're meant to learn. And this is the soul's decision. This is the soul wanting to experience and learn as much as it can. So it sacrifices knowledge temporarily in each matrix to be able to experience something from a different viewpoint.
Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And so the people that are trying to manifest the broadcast really isn't going to be in their best interests.
They can try and try.
And so really those people that are needing the broadcast for their needs and requirements, what are really the lessons that they're still needing to overcome and learn and gain from that?
Yes. It is understandable how people would be relying on the broadcast with the promise of total freedom, movement into a better world, and finally people around them seeing what reality truly is and seeing that there's so much more out there. It was to be the reckoning of all of the people who have put in the work and who've gone through the motions of waking up and releasing things that do not serve them from their past lives, but also with hope moving into a brighter future. So we absolutely do understand that people are very disappointed and are needing more and more reassurance as things on the forefront do not seem like they're going to plan. But we assure you again and again that everything is going to plan. Um, we will say to those people who are still needing the broadcast that um, you are seeking external validation for what you already know within your own heart. And part of the lesson is being able to navigate through this reality with with the truth that lives within you. Um, Once, if you were truly at the peak of what is possible spiritually on this earth, you would literally be able to sit in the middle of a field for days and weeks on end, having not moved, having not eaten, having not uh, watched or had any outside stimulus. This is the truth. This is when you can truly be still. But when you are needing external validation from love, from a loved one, from a friend, from the broadcast, from television, from reassuring news, this just signifies that there is more work to be done. And we use that analogy of sitting in the field lightly because it would be a very, 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 very advanced and long-awaited state of being in order to be experiencing that. So we are not saying to you, please go and sit in the field and that's how you are spiritual. No, 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 we're not saying that at all. We are just saying that while you are at the stage in your spirituality in this life, people are needing and expecting external validation for what is already truth within them. So we um, we this is where manifestation comes into play. By manifesting the highest outcome for each person, sitting with themselves, listening to what their heart is telling them, listening to the guidance of their higher self, um, and teaching and coaching themselves into a place where they can be at peace with themselves, with all of this stuff going on around them. A truly awakened soul needs not to place their opinions and voice onto other people, as other people need the chance to awaken themselves. A truly awakened person, an enlightened person, will not need to have anybody else around them awaken and can move through the ridicule that comes with being an awakened person amongst the sea of unawakened. Um, and um, and will not have any bias or ties to a certain outcome happening, with the knowledge that all is being worked out by spirit for the highest good of all. And we again are not expecting everybody at this point to be that awakened being that we describe, but we are just merely saying that part of the journey is getting to that point, and this is what we're doing right now. And this is why you're being triggered. This is why you're releasing. This is why people are dropping out of your life. This is why people are coming into your life, because you are all moving through different periods of your awakening process. So when you're feeling overwhelmed by what is taking place in the world, we ask that you ground yourself, stamp your bare feet into the earth. And we know it's cold at the moment in many parts of the world. And we are saying this really to Andre because he doesn't really want to go outside and stamp his feet in the cold ground. But we ask just for 3 to 5 seconds to just run around on the cold grass and stamp emotions and stamp your fears into the ground and run back in and sit by the warm fire. And this can be utilized by anybody listening. It doesn't take long. We also advise that if you do not generally or cannot go outside, You can visualize the grounding process whilst being inside. You can connect to the earth from anywhere in the world and in any environment. And grounding will be an amazing process to be able to get rid of the emotions and the fears and the feelings that have been taken on by your overthinking mind or by the energies of others around you or the content that you see on your social medias and on your televisions. This will be a great process for all. Make sure you are all drinking water as well, plenty and plenty and plenty of water, as this will help the energy to flow through the body at a greater rate and help you release at a faster pace. And so we say this to all, that we understand that the disappointment that is being seen by many right now, that the broadcast has not happened. We understand that this is very difficult for people, but we also know that deep in your hearts, when you can battle and combat the over thoughtful mind, that you know truly all is being worked out for the highest good for all. And that is where trust comes into play. And that is a personal battle that you must undertake with yourself. And it is not up to us or anybody else to be able to help you come to that answer. It is a journey of self realization and awareness that takes place from within you.
Yes, thank you. And it's pretty fantastic that things are naturally able to be unfolded as people are learning their own lessons and having that bigger perspective. So I think it's fantastic, even though I understand that other people will be almost devastated to hear that.
Yes, yes. But this is as well part of the experiences that they have wished to have in this lifetime. It is just hard to see it from this perspective when you're in the game.
Yeah, and they'll grow from that and they will heal from that and see the bigger picture from that and be fine with that as well. And overall, they will be happy that other people are naturally waking up and being able to fulfill their own life contracts that they wanted to experience and learn from. So, you know, it's just processing through that emotionally, which everyone is capable of doing when they want to be able to have that approach. So, thank you very much for that. I really.
And we would also like to remind you that you will learn your lessons whether you like it or not. It is part of the contract. So it is not something you need to try and learn or something you should try and avoid, because it will happen when it's meant to happen. That is the law.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And just surrender into it and accept it and learn from it rather than struggle and resist it.
Absolutely. And that will make the process so much easier.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Fantastic. In terms of the shift and the event, is this also going to be changing? I mean, what do you want to tell us about that now?
The shift is due to take place. It's due to take place. It is hard for Andre to accept this because his trust has been shaken. It will take place. The time frame at which it takes place is in and around the winter solstice. So 2021, 22, 23. And it is it is due to take place. We have said this before, that the possibility of the shift not happening is a potential, as infinite possibilities exist at one time. But at this stage in the game, it is the quickest, easiest, and most beneficial for all involved for the shift to take place. And it is we have assured you time and time again that in order for the things that we have said will not happen, not to happen, that the shift take place in and around December 21st. Because without this, the mechanisms for creating a better world on this planet will be that much more time consuming, lengthy, and not as beneficial for the planet. And we must remember that it is not just the humans on the planet that we are thinking about, it is the Gaia herself who has decided to leave and has decided to go. And at this stage in the game, she has not began to leave. Her soul is not gone. So, of course, exists the possibility that she may decide to stay. This is something that is of a 99% improbability. But it is important to note at all times that every possibility already exists. And this is something, again, in your contracts that you have chosen to experience. And it would create a break in your contracts with your higher selves and your souls and with Mother Earth if this were not to take place. And that is a bigger deal than you would think with such a huge operation taking place. So when we talk about the shift taking place on December the 21st, in that moment, it is absolutely the reality that is taking place. And until we stop talking about that reality, then it is taking place, and you can be assured of that.
Okay, thank you very much. And how would you like us to process the time that we have left? And out of curiosity, will there be disclosures of crimes against humanity naturally unfolding to the public more than what it is now?
Yes, there will be. With regards to your question about processing in the time that you have left, it is about coming to terms with the natural flow of things and being able to keep yourselves in the state of flow and the state of neutrality as best as possible, so that all the events that will start to take place from now until the shift can be something you observe and notice and take lessons from, but that it does not affect you so much in a way that you find yourselves in a tailspin into the negativity like depression and worry and fear and anxiety. But that is a natural process with anything that is taking place that is this big, and especially with the energies that all light workers and awakened beings are dealing with right now. It's going to be very difficult. But the disclosures as they are due to take place will start to happen. You're already seeing many of these happening at the moment, and it will get deeper and deeper and deeper. But we are at a very delicate place with regards to the next few weeks, with regards to how things must unfold in order to get to one point. And we remind you of the analogy of how we said we are sort of finding loopholes in the laws, if that makes sense, to be able to combine many different points and realities into ending up in one point, if that makes sense. And that is not a smooth process. So you are also forgetting that many videos and many sightings of our ships have been seen in and around the world. And while this is not the broadcast that we have been talking about, this is disclosure of what you perceive to be alien ships, showing ourselves. And this will start to happen more and more as the time goes on. However, we feel that in your heads, the vision of how we would show ourselves to you is maybe more from a movie scene than it would look in real life. And you are seeing the fruition of, you're seeing what coming to fruition, certain disclosures of our ships in certain parts of the world for certain people. So this is a part of the awakening process as people will start to see this and start to question it, but it is up to each individual person as to how they accept the information of seeing those videos and seeing ships in the sky, as many will believe it's doctored imagery, many will believe it's not real, many will believe it's planes. And that again is up to the person, but it is planting that seed in their head, and this is part of the journey. And with regards to the disclosures that you're asking about, as we've said, many disclosures have already come to fruition. There will be lots more coming to light, and this will happen as the fight to win the presidency of the United States moves into its next stages. So it's again, don't delve too much into the politics, but observe and enjoy the outcomes of the events that come as an outcome of the process of the elections, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. And in terms of the people who we thought who had died but have been secretly in hiding, will any of those disclosures come out, or is it going to be all sort of unraveled on New Earth in 5D?
There is the expectation that many of these people will make themselves known. It is not possible right now with what is happening. In order for this to happen in a safe way for those people, there must be a change in the way things are run with regards to the presidency. And as we discussed before, this would be something that would take place when Donald Trump wins. The issue that we face is the time it's taking for this to play out. And while we have expected this, there are still forces fighting against the disclosure of many things, as this would unravel the whole system. So it has already taken place in the realms of sort of reality and dimensions, but you are going through the motions of it right now, and
Thank you. Thank you.
there is more. One sec. Yes, with every step, it's like loosening the leash that little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, until the dog is free. And once the dog is free, it can run wherever it wants and do whatever it wants. But at the moment, it's important that the owner of the dog keep it tight on the leash so it doesn't run into oncoming traffic.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, we can use an analogy. And also understand it makes complete sense, bigger picture stuff, and yeah, it would be um, not even valid for someone to go into hiding to then come out when it's not safe now, just because a lot of people are impatient. So I get it and I fully respect it. Like I respect everything that you've shared with us today. So I really, really appreciate it. And so this makes me question about the role of the lifesavers. Is this something that is also not needed now?
The role of the lifesavers is, it does happen when, even when those people are not in the crystalline bodies per se. Your Those lifesavers are still crystalline dominant bodies, even when they have not fully made the transition to their full crystalline body, if that makes sense. So the lifesavers, as you've coined, are already fulfilling their duties and being that light of change in their areas. As to how much the lifesaver will need to transform into the crystalline dominant body will depend on the frequency of energy of the planet and of how much we need the full frequency of the crystalline body on the planet. As of yet, it is not necessary, but it is something that still very much can and will take place before the shift. It just may not be as you perceive it to be from the point of view of your imagination. So you are still receiving upgrades, you are still becoming more crystalline dominant, and fulfilling your duties and work as a lifesaver. Um, and the the okay the time is not linear like you perceive it to be, and there are also inconsistencies with the questioning regarding timelines, where the lifesavers will look and be like they are in your imaginations. And sorry, Andre's just relaxing 1 sec. Yes, there are many different realities and dimensions happening on top of one another. So the lifesavers are the lifesavers are in one dimension living as lifesavers on top of a dimension where that same person is living a different reality and a role. So in some instances, the lifesavers are doing their duties and doing what they're meant to be doing, whilst the vessel is not aware that they are performing their duties. And the point at which the lifesaver starts to point at which the vessel starts to perceive their body as the lifesaver and their full crystalline dominant body is the merging of those realities. As your soul can be in many places at once and in many bodies at once, the lifesaver does not necessarily have to be merged with the carbon dominant vessel. It is the merging of timelines that will create the impression or the physical perception of the vessel being their full light body self. Hope that makes sense. Andre is confused.
Okay, yes,
But
no, it does make sense. It does make sense to me. So thank you. And in terms of, for example, Andre, when is he going to personally notice the merging of those timelines? Will it be in December with the shift, or will it be prior?
Andre is having experiences at the moment which are little bursts of the crystalline body merging with his vessel. And we are showing him the feeling of what it will be like to be in this crystalline body. We are merging his crystalline body with his carbon-based body so he can feel the difference. And it is something that is already within him. So he is already in his crystalline body, but his carbon body is more dominant in this reality. The crystalline body is always there. It is just not as dominant in his reality at the moment. And the lifesaver role can still be performed with the vessel still being in their carbon dominant body. The carbon dominant body is the vessel for the crystalline body. So the crystalline body can still be expanded and performing its role while still being in the 3D vessel. With regards to the need for Andre to lose his carbon-based body and be in his crystalline body, we are not a crystalline only. We are not seeing that taking place before the shift. That will be the shift for him, whereby his carbon-based body is released and they separate. But the crystalline dominant body is something that is constantly increasing as the days and weeks go by. So even though he is not noticing the light that he is holding, it is increasing, and therefore he is performing his duty as a lifesaver in ways that he does not realize. And this goes for all of you. This is why you're feeling these upgrades, but not seeing anything different on the outside in your carbon vessel.
Thank you so much. It makes perfect sense. And in terms of if anyone wanted to be more crystalline based, I guess at this point in time, it's more mindset, isn't it? To be releasing any of the lower emotions, raising your vibration, having bigger perspective. Is that correct?
Yes. Saying I would like to be more my crystalline body is sort of like saying I'd like to change the shape of America. It's possible in the reality of things, but if it's not necessary, it will not be done because it is not part of the process in that moment. So your higher self will not just change you into your crystalline body because it's something that you want. The process will unfold as the energy changes. For instance, as you move up the scale of, we're going to say, all those little mini dimensions that you go through, the possibility for your crystalline body to emerge in a more dominant way becomes greater and greater. But as it stands, The the oh, the they have the person has not traveled to that place yet, so the possibilities do not exist in that reality, if that makes sense. The reality must change, and this happens every time you step in a new direction. Every time you do something, your reality changes, and um, you slowly get to a point where you build up and up and up and up and up, and you release and release and release and release and release, and your mindset changes and your reality changes. And once you get to that point, then you suddenly are in a reality whereby the transition into a crystalline body is possible by the laws of that reality. So you can say you want to be in a crystalline body. It is not something that just happens. It is about doing the work and being at a place where you can match that frequency.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And so a while ago, when we were talking about the broadcast and lifesavers coming and being upgraded early and coming back with their crystalline bodies, I'm just wanting to ask this for the people who have been listening and are still struggling with the understanding of why things have to actually unfold naturally and why there isn't this other manual kind of disclosure and your support more firmly to be able to waken people, because everything's naturally unfolding and it doesn't need assistance from you guys. The broadcast hasn't needed to happen, and then the crystalline bodies are not as visible as we were expecting.
Not visible to your eyes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember, it is an energetic thing. And if you are in a crystalline body, the people who are not at that level of frequency will not be able to see the crystalline aspect to your body. You will merely be the 3D as they always see you. But your perception of your body, if you are in that reality, will be different to the person looking at you. It's quite complicated, but someone who is not matching your frequency will not be able to see that aspect of you. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you. And so there are people that are crystalline dominated frequencies, but still looking very 3D carbon based bodies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And is there anything else you want to tell us about that?
It is again down to the questioning, and you cannot get the questioning completely right. It would be impossible for you always to have the questions completely right, because there are things that you just can't think of and will not think of and will not remember to cover every base. The question would have to be an hour long for you to cover every possibility. So when you say crystalline body, I'll come back in my crystalline body. You don't say, will they come back in the crystalline body and everybody will see them in the crystalline body and they will all be able to perceive the crystalline body and the person will be in the crystalline body, and the, do you understand? So it's, you have to ask many questions and cover all bases in order to get a definitive answer. So when we say crystalline body, um, the uh, the there has been talk about how you will look different to people, and you will look different to every single person because they will be seeing the energy and feeling the energy differently based on their level of consciousness.
Yes, thank you. And do try to cover all the questions. And I have specifically asked in many private sessions, when will the client be upgraded to the crystalline body to come back and be of service? Because there was that upgrade that needed to happen where people would be taken and upgraded and returned. And I sort of feel like I've had many questions, many sessions where I've asked specific questions like that, but I feel that the timeline has changed, and that was not necessary for that client.
Your questions are great. We are not saying you're doing a bad job at all. It isn't. We are merely just trying to reassure you that no matter how great your questions are, there will always be an aspect that you will not have covered to the answer, if that makes sense. So it's just one of those things that um, uh, you're questioning is you are speaking with a very limited language, and also a very limited understanding of exactly what is going on in your human bodies. So it is impossible for your questioning to be perfect, but you are doing a great job with the questioning. We do not want you to feel like you are doing anything wrong. It is just something that we want to remind you of, that while we can give you an answer, there will always be an aspect of the answer that we are not able to give you because it's not been detailed in the question, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. I'm just hoping that the people who are listening, who are still struggling with the loss, shall we say, of the broadcast, and then the loss of their perceived notion of their role as a lifesaver and coming back as a crystalline being body, and all the hopes and dreams and aspects that they wanted from those. I'm just hoping that they can see the bigger picture, and realize that these things have naturally changed as happy days, which we should celebrate and be happy for, is that humanity is in a much better condition than we were worried about. And so those roles and events didn't need to take place because people are naturally awakening, which is what we all really truly want, more than, say, having to be upgraded into a semi-crystalline body earlier and having the shock of a big broadcast happening, disclosing everything in a very, very powerful but also very shocking way.
Yes, and we are scanning uh, the ears of the people who are listening, and we are working very closely with each individual person. Their higher selves are all working very closely with them, and um, it is not in the human world. We would say, "Oh, we're sorry, the broadcast didn't happen. We're sorry, you were expecting it," but um, from the higher perspective, we do not see it as a loss or as something to apologize for. It is the work of the people listening with them, together with their higher self and their guides, to work through the loss and try to understand where this feeling of disappointment comes from. Why do they need this to happen? Why are they relying on certain things to happen in order for them to be happy and feel reassured? And this is perfectly fine, and we are saying this with love, but it is up to the person to work through these feelings with themselves, their higher selves and their guides, to bring themselves to a place of understanding that all is being worked out for the highest good. And the people who need the broadcast, who need the glory or the feeling of needing to be needed and to help in their crystalline bodies, must also understand that, first of all, we are not saying that this is not going to happen. We are just saying it looks different to how you may be seeing it in your minds. And also, we are needing to say that you are doing your bit to help, even by making a cup of coffee in the morning. You are doing your job. You are forgetting that as light workers who have come onto this planet, you have been doing your job since birth up until the moment that you pass and shift, by being able to anchor more the frequency onto the of light onto the planet. This has been your job, and you have succeeded in doing this to the point now where we are. So you're all to be commended on the fabulous work that you have been doing. And you do not need to do anything more to achieve your purpose, because your purpose and the purpose of a lifesaver is to hold more and more and more and more light, and the crystalline body is light. So it is, the lifesaver is merely like a light worker on steroids, if that makes sense. So you are a light worker at the moment. Do you feel like a big ball of light? No, because it is something that your eyes in this dimension cannot see. The same goes for the crystalline body. Are the crystalline bodies just a big ball of light? No, not from your perception, because you are not at that dimension. The crystalline body can, which is why we have said from the beginning, crystalline dominant body, because it was not to be misconstrued with the idea that you would be a big ball of light walking around and would have no physical form. And this is why we wanted to remind you that this will look different to how your minds are imagining it. And that's all. So you are all doing your jobs. You are all helping, regardless of regardless of the levels of your crystalline dominance.
Could it be argued that people needed to have the excitement and the encouragement to think that they were going to do this role, they were going to have this, I mean, let's just say, like a suit of confidence put over them, which we could say is the crystalline based body, and that they could be able to do more profound humanity work. And so people were excited about this. They wanted to take on that role. They were waiting for the upgrade of the body, so then they could really empower and embody that role. And while that's not really going to be the case visually, the confidence and the excitement of that person feeling that position really boosted them up and gave them a sense of purpose and made them really surrender into things in a more positive way, and really gave them that boost. And it's not really, I don't feel like people would think that they have been tricked by hearing these sessions, but there has to be purpose and lessons there, right?
There is purpose in lessons, but we would never deceive to make somebody feel good about themselves for a moment. The lesson is more about, again, acceptance and trust. And yes, absolutely, we want you all to be excited. We want you all to be feeling great and to be living your purposes. But we must assure you that we would never give you a false sense of hope just to make you feel excited in that moment. The issue, what the lessons are personal to each individual person, but the general tone of the lesson is about trust and letting things move naturally, doing your work in any way that is needed by the greater picture. And yes, some souls have decided to learn about disappointment, to learn about ego, to learn about mission, fulfilling purpose, all of these things. But it is sort of different for every person. But it is important to remind you that we would never deceive purely for the basis of wanting to make you feel good in a moment. So you sort of have a point, but it's not correct.
Yes, it's more just from a very human aspect. Just I can sense people processing this information and understanding this information as a bigger picture perspective, and just wanting to clarify and ask the not quite awkward questions, but just making sure that I've covered all the bases that I can, just so everyone truly gets and understands what's happening, while everyone is important and they are helping humanity. It's just not going to be in a crystalline body suit that we can see, that other people can really see either.
Uh, sort of, yes. It depends on your level of consciousness. But essentially, you have the right idea.
If you do have the level of consciousness, how will you perceive your body then?
Well, when you will, okay, when you are purely just the crystalline body, you have no body. You don't perceive a body. You are light, and you perceive that you perceive just that. When you are more crystalline dominant, it is more like you're in your carbon-based body, you're more crystalline dominant. If you're in that role, you are at that frequency. It is just, it is like when you look in the mirror, it's something that it's hard to explain. You just see it, you feel it from your perspective. So you just see yourself as different. You feel different. You know things are different. Your aura is going to look very bright. The colors will seem different around you. Time will be perceived differently. In some certain instances, you might sort of be able to see through your hand very in a very strange way. You may have a sort of sparkle when you're in the light. Um, and this comes with a new mindset of uh, understanding it for what it is. So there'll be a lot of acceptance. Therefore, the impact of the change will not seem as great, if that makes sense. But if Mary walking down the road were to pass you on the street and is in a different dimension to you, she will see you as just as you always have been. She will not be able to perceive you any differently. Whereas someone who's doing 2 years of spiritual work may see you a little bit differently and just think, wow, that person is an amazing. I feel the energy. I see that person as very wonderful and light and wonderful. I'm very attracted to their energy. Different stages like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just kind of, how people are going to perceive things.
Yes, you will. If once the more dominant your crystalline aspect of your body is, the more your experience will be like what I described.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about? Um, is there anything important that we need to know at this stage?
You are in a time of great uncertainty from your perspective, and it is not easy, and we understand this. Um, we want you to ground yourselves, to keep yourselves as centered as possible, to be drinking as much water as possible, and to be doing your very best to face your emotions and face what's coming up and not try to project them onto others or push them to the back of your mind so they're not being looked at and processed. This is part of what will make the journey to the shift much easier for you. Remember, it is not up to you to awaken anybody else. Do your own work, heal yourself, do your own thing, and do not push your agenda onto anybody else because that will affect their free will and it will limit the ease at which you process your own stuff. Um, be there for one another and understand that everybody is going through their own individual lessons and journeys. So be compassionate and kind when dealing with other people. It's very important. Remember, we are all one. And remember, at the end of the day, not to belittle your experience, but all of this, all of the earth, all of your reality is merely just a matrix that your higher self has chosen to experience. It's not as serious as you all think it is, even though the experience seems very real and can be very traumatic while you're here. Do not be hard on yourself if you feel you're not doing a good job. Do not allow yourself to sow those seeds of doubt and self loathing and feelings of not being good enough, because at the end of the day, you are learning lessons whether you feel like it or you're not. You are helping whether you feel like you are or not. And you are doing what is meant to be done whether you feel like it or not. Where at each point in your life, you are somewhere you've never been before, in your uncharted territory. So remember this, you are in a school of learning at the moment, and your higher self is very grateful for the experience. So you are all to give yourselves a pat on the back, and remind yourselves daily how special and wonderful you are, and know that we love you. We love you more than you can possibly imagine, and we are here for you. All you have to do is go within and ask when you need our assistance. Um, so, with that, we wish you so much luck and love moving into the next stages of what is happening, and remind you that we are there for you whenever you need us.
Thank you so much. I know that your love is unconditional and it's really powerful and strong and pure. So it is a very kind and lovely offer for us at this time. So thank you so much.
And thank you all. Thank you all for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, I feel like everyone who's been listening and following these, this is just confirmation. This isn't like shocking, heartbreaking stuff. Really, it's just kind of like this makes sense and it's clarifying what they were sort of already noticing. So this is good. This is, just more confirmation for everyone to understand and grow from.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Is there a final message for me?
Joanne, you have released so much in this last year of your life, and you are moving into the next stages of your awakening. You are at a new level of consciousness, and you have noticed this um, take place almost suddenly overnight. And we want to assure you that you have always been on the right path, and you have always been meant to learn those hard lessons. And now you can see yourself, how far you've come with this new mindset that you have obtained. And just to know that it is impossible to go back and to de-evolve. So you can now move on with your life with this new mindset, and this new ease and way of being. Not saying that no more will come up for you to release, this is inevitable, but you are at this new stage, and things will be um, uh, a little bit easier as your mindset has um, jumped leaps into a higher state of consciousness. So you are to be commended for all the work you have done. It has not been easy, and you are doing so much more than you realize for the people around you. In your immediate family and in the friends that you come into contact with on a daily basis. Um, um, Moving forward into the next month, we we ask you to be in contact with your higher self more consciously, at certain times when you feel like you need guidance and help. And just to know that you do not just need to rely on the sessions for information, and that you can trust and do trust, but can trust your higher self and your inner knowing, more, and you're very good at looking and trusting your intuition. If you are finding yourself at any point throughout your day at a loss of what to do, contact us, contact your higher self. We understand it's difficult with a busy life to be able to sit with yourself. But if you can, for just 5 minutes a day, sit with yourself and check in. This would be very beneficial to your growth moving forward into the next month.
Thank you so much.